On Twitter or not? Should be on Twitter. Yes, we are live on Twitter. The World of Momus live show is on. Are we on YouTube? Because that's the one that was playing up last time. We are on YouTube as well. Good. For some reason, it doesn't. Why? Why? Let me monetize my stuff, man. Why is Twitter so like? Why does Twitter have so much of a problem with me? Anyways, who cares? So
Because you're Pakistani. There's
yeah,
no that
exactly, exactly.
racism and
I told you. I told you not to call me that. You know.
sorry, because you're Indian.
Thank you. A lot better. Um, okay, everyone. Welcome to another live stream that I have been doing. Do send in your messages and stuff. What we're going to talk about today with Frank is some of the problems in Nigeria, what Christians are facing, and about Christianity in general, anyways. But till that time, because we were supposed to go live at 5 o'clock, we're just warming up. So we're going to talk about other stuff. Before we talk about other stuff, Frank Steven has a YouTube channel, very successful YouTube channel. A Nigerian perspective is really good. Go check that out. And he's also starting a new channel, Frankly Speaking. So you can go and subscribe to that channel as well. As it looks interesting, he's shown me a few videos and in the back of what he's working on. Really funny, really good. I like it. So hopefully you guys will go and subscribe to that as well. And you can also, if you haven't subscribed, you're listening on YouTube or somewhere else, you can subscribe to my stuff as well, please. Or go to my Substack, The World of Momus, and subscribe over there. So before we go on to the main subject, we were just briefly talking about what were we talking about? We were talking about that Lauren Chen thing that has come up recently, and the Tenet media and stuff like that. And you were asking me, you're just asking me, like, what do I think about that? Like, I mean, you know what I think about it because I've like we were.
For the most part, because when it came up, I sent you like I think I sent you some Twitter stories
Yeah.
covering or Twitter posts covering the story. And of course, one of the things we agreed upon was that I think the right has like a grifting problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the things that I think is very interesting is seeing that she's two things that I think is worth noting is one, she has lost her YouTube channel because
Yeah.
of this,
That's wrong. Yeah.
which is weird.
Yeah.
I really don't understand the relationship between YouTube and the DOJ. I don't know if there's
Yeah.
any kind. I don't know how it works in America, but it's really interesting. You know, uh, I don't think the Gray Zone lost their YouTube channel when it came out that they were also receiving funding
No.
from Russia. So I don't know why. Maybe because theirs was not pursued by the DOJ, it was just revealed by I think by journalists or stuff. And then Max Blumenthal was like, it's not true. It doesn't
Mm.
happen. It happen, and everybody just forgot about it, right? And also we know that there are like protesters in the West who are funded by Iran. I don't
Yeah.
think those who are getting the platform, Twitter is or TikTok, their usual destination. I don't
Yeah.
think TikTok is taking down their channel or stuff and saying, "Oh, you guys are funded by Iran," according to what
Yeah.
we are hearing. Or the algorithm on TikTok is like, "We will not show pro
How,
Hamas."
how many universities get paid by Qatar and like all these places? They have so many funding.
Yeah, so for
Yeah.
me, I felt it is really weird. That is now I want people to understand. I'm not a Putin sympathizer because here's the funny thing: when you have like something that is not the conventional opinion, especially when it has to do with something like this, is before you know someone is going to be like, "Are you saying you are in support of Russia?" I'm not. Maybe I'm paid by them, but I don't know if this is me coming. I'm not
Yeah.
thinking coming up as a Russian bot or whatever it is. But I feel it is important to note that there are some measures that are being taken here and things that are being done in this situation that is concerning. Another thing for me is you don't, for you to disprove a let me just, let's say the veracity or otherwise of people's claim or what they stand for or the
Hmm.
argument they push about on social media, for me it's not determined by who is paying. It's not true or false based on who is paying them.
Yeah.
Like there are news stories that I've seen on CNN that are true, even though I know CNN is a very corrupt media organization with a very left-leaning bias. But there are some news stories from CNN that are like true because it is true. Like when they cover when CNN tells you it is going to the weather forecast on CNN say it is going to rain tomorrow. You're not going to be like, nah, we'll not listen to this left wing media. Trust the science piece of crap. No, you pay attention to that because it's true. When they cover something that is verifiably true, you agree with them. Also there are sometimes certain stories you look around various media outlets, and CNN does a good job in covering them. Credit where credit is due. You know, so the point I'm trying to make is that the veracity or otherwise of people's claim is not dependent on. So it's not just because they have a certain bias, then don't listen to them, or because they are funded by a particular person, then don't listen to them. It's like take what they are saying and evaluate what they are saying, and
Yeah, and
every
you
argument
know
stand for
what? You know what? My major issue with that is, like, right now as well, is people have to decide: do you trust the government or do you not trust the government, right? So it seems like people trust the government when it suits them, and they
Mm,
don't trust the government when it doesn't suit them. So
mm,
we all agreed that anything right now that is, like, everyone on the right agreed that anything that is coming out right now from the Department of Justice of America is
mm.
probably, you have to take it with a pinch of salt, right?
Okay.
Because they are determined to manipulate the elections. Now that they cannot directly attack Twitter, they're going to attack the medium with which Twitter and other people who they can't control are operating in, right? So
Mm,
they have to attack new media. How to attack new media is by going after one of their biggest proponents, biggest people within the new media, and try to discredit them. You don't have to prove it. You have to have no evidence for it. You can just smear them by introducing a claim,
mhm,
right? And then let the other left people on the new media and mainstream media take hold from them. And
mhm,
that's what's happened. Well, there's no proof that Lauren Chen has taken direct money from Russia. There's no proof right now, right? There's just claims about it, like, no, that she has knowingly done it. And what they're also saying, claiming, is that she has knowingly taken the money and directed people like Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and stuff to put out pro-Russia propaganda. I find that very hard to believe, right?
mm,
And the other thing with that as well is, like, I think so, there are a lot of people within the political right and left and center and everywhere who are very emotionally attached to these two wars, Israel and Hamas,
mm,
and Ukraine and Russia. They are so emotionally attached, and they're mostly liberal leaning people, either on the
mm,
right, on the left. They are liberal leaning people. As much as they are attached to liberalism, that's how they're emotionally attached to these issues as well. And
okay.
they're letting that lead them very blindly into these narratives. So anyone
Mm,
who's trying to, who even tries to criticize Israel or Ukraine, they just think, like, okay, you're the worst person possible, or you're not,
mm,
you've gone far right, you've gone like this and that. It's like, well, there are valid claims, right?
mm,
Here or there might be valid claims, there might not be valid claims, but people need to have these conversations. Okay, people who are so far removed from these lands, who don't care about these lands, and rightly so, they care more about their community, their neighbors, the problems that are happening, around them. They're more concerned about those things, and they want the government to take care of those problems. And when they see
mm,
the government not taking care of those problems, and instead they going and giving money to Ukraine or to Israel, whatever it might be, not giving them directly money, letting them borrow the money, and they'll get them, whatever the case might be. but the
Mm-hmm.
optics of it to them seem like, okay, you care about those things more than you care about us. And it
Mm-hmm.
might be so in the grand scheme of things, that is taking care of the people in a way to secure your assets when it comes to Russia and Ukraine, to secure your interest, will make sure that the American interests are taken care of in the long run, because you'll have better trade deals and stuff. Just like to ensure that there's peace within Middle East is in favor of the future trade deals for America and for the Western world, and for us to be able to tackle with terrorism issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is those global ambitions that help us internally,
Mm-hmm.
but on the face of it, people who have immediate like who are suffering the consequences of immediate issues in front of them, whose children are going hungry, who can see their friends and neighbors going without, while you're giving money to the foreign aids, they won't have the capacity to understand the grand scheme of things as well. And now
Mm-hmm.
we don't even know if those grand scheme of things are in our favor, because they have been all of these areas have been captured by all these globalist people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they want to control us, so we don't even know like how the old world used to work with the globalist agenda, or not the globalist agenda, but international trade and stuff, if it
Mm-hmm.
works in our favor or not. So
Mm-hmm.
people should be able to criticize whoever they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we are saying that someone cannot have, or like prove it before
Yeah.
releasing it, before, and we all know like Facebook did this. Facebook work with CIA beforehand, at the
Mm-hmm.
back end, was blocking people and stuff. YouTube has been doing that. They are arms of government now, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you don't have evidence, unless it's proven guilty, don't spread this. Like, don't really, don't just claim that, oh, these are the people and these are the implication. Oh, they're taking money from Russia. You don't know if they're taking money from Russia. And what
Mm-hmm.
if they're taking, even if, what if they're taking money from Russia? Maybe put a label over there that this is a Russian, like, this is a Russian
Yeah,
sponsored
yeah,
media or something.
like they do when you go to like the DW website, or so I think CBC or CB something. They say this
Mm,
is paid by Canadian government. This is paid for by this.
yeah,
You can put that label on Lawrence Chan's
yeah,
channel, and but this is paid for by Russia, so everybody knows that.
yeah.
Rather than just remove her channel from YouTube. Also, another thing that I think is worth stating now is people have the right to be wrong,
Mm,
right?
mm,
People have the right to be wrong. People have the right to say, okay, what I'm saying is, and it is wrong. Yes, correct me if I'm wrong. Show it that I am wrong. I think there is this laziness in today's day and age where people are too lazy to confront negative ideas, and they just say, okay, let's just censor it, let's silence it. I'm like, correct people, correct, like,
yeah.
if people don't say things that are false, if people don't say things that are lies, how then are we going to talk about the truth? As long as there are lies, there will be as long as there are truths, there will be lies.
Yeah,
Always. So
and you have to, you will lie here or there
mhm,
unknowingly as well, while in your process of finding truth, right? So
yeah.
if you don't let people make mistakes and correct themselves and still gain their dignity, right?
Mhm,
If we don't do that, then they'll start doubling down and they'll be trapped in that lying and all of that. Like, this is weird. I find it's very weird. I don't know. Maybe I think so. We both might also be looking at from an outside in perspective as well, because
yeah.
from outside the Western world. Now, I have lived in the Western world for the past 14 worlds, 14 years. I'm not that old.
This is Dracula from Pakistan.
Yeah. So maybe we don't have this mentality or this sort of programming that has been going on in the Western world by the
Mhm,
liberals for so long, and that's
mhm,
why our perspective of the Western liberalism was that you're allowed to have mistakes, make mistakes, and correct yourself and come back to it, have open discussion, have freedom of speech, have freedom of choice and stuff. But once you
mhm,
start living here, it feels like that just feels like, a very old idea, and
mhm,
an idea that is actually still the people outside the Western world are aspiring to and are trying to achieve, but the Western
mhm.
world has gone beyond it and now gone into full communist mode.
Yeah, like I always say it, like when I look at what is going on in the West and then look at Nigeria, I'm like, you guys are the ones we usually look up to, and and especially in the free the aspect of free expression on social media is the one that I find really concerning, because there were, in the past the government had banned the use of Twitter in Nigeria simply because the president made a, I think he made a tweet that was violent. The president of Nigeria made a very violent tweet, and the tweet was removed by Twitter for breaking community guidelines.
Like,
And the president was like, "You said you did what to my tweet?" And
yeah,
then he banned. That was why it was banned. Oh. But they came up with other reasons that Twitter is promoting hate speech and this and that and that. Of course, they will not say we are banning Twitter because they hurt my feelings, because Twitter hurt the feelings of Buhari. No, that's not what happened. What happened now? What the explanation they will give now is because hate speech is spreading, misinformation is, that was what they were saying. This is hate speech, misinformation. These two things was what they said. That fake news is being spread on social media, false narratives are being spread on social media, and hate speech, people are being targeted on social media. Those are the things that the Nigerian government said back then. This is how many years ago? Over 2 years ago. And now in 2024, I see the West say we are combating hate speech and misinformation. And
yeah,
I'm like, you people sound a lot like my Nigerian government. That is, somebody is hurting your feelings. Just say your feelings
yeah,
is getting hurt. Somebody is doing something you don't like. And
yeah,
it sounds to me like it's the same thing. You know, it sounds to me like it's the same thing. Allow people to freely express themselves. If they are wrong, show it.
yeah,
If they are wrong, show it. Let people be able to see. For example, people always talk about now in this current climate. They talk about the rise in anti-Semitism, the rise in this. Many narratives are now being spread. People are now becoming radicalized, and now becoming anti-Semites. And I'm like, I don't think there is a rise. You think people have not been anti-Semites for a very long time. It's
you
just
can
now
just see
they
it
are
now.
unfolding. Now we can look at certain people and be like, oh, this person has actually been an anti-Semite for a very
Yeah,
long time. I
yeah.
don't think there are new anti-Semites, except for Sneeko, right?
Okay, Frank, try to put your mic a bit closer to you.
See, for internet to start touching. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Am I loud enough?
Yeah,
Okay, so except for Sneeko, there are no new anti-Semites. It's the same
yeah,
old people. Nick Fuentes has been an anti-Semite for a very long time. Okay, and many others like that, right? And they are the ones that are making certain anti-Semitic topics trendy. And people who have been repulsive to these ideas and notion are the same people, right? Are the same people who are repulsive to it now. The issue now is we now know what the lies are. Do you know, over like 8 months, there are certain anti-Semitic lies that I'm learning about for the first time. I'm like, wow, people believe this stuff. It's like free speech is exposing the lies. I'm like, wow, so there are people who believe this. There are people who think this. There are people who say this. There are people who think Winston Churchill is a villain, is a terrible guy, there are people who believe this stuff. There are people who believe that Hitler is the good guy. And there are people who believe that the Nazis had to kill people because they had no other option. Wow. Like these are anti, or these are like Nazi propaganda that I've never had before in my life. And I'm hearing about them for the first time today, or this period. And now I also, many people this period have learned how to combat those lies.
yeah,
That is what this provides for us. When you see things like this, see it as an opportunity instead of see it as, oh, look at the rising trend. What is the world turning into? Like, come on.
yeah. And I think so. A lot of the problem also is that people think that the social media is the live media. Okay, okay, Marco is saying that your the volume of your mic seems to be very low, so it might be on your setup. So while you are trying to fix that, yeah. So the problem that I see also is you have to combat bad speech with good speech, and not by censoring speech. And
Mhm.
it's not as if like these people have suddenly been radicalized, like you're saying. Like, it's not like they have just become anti-Semites or otherwise a racist or bigots and stuff. They have always been that. The world is
Mhm.
not like on social media. The world is outside of social media. So
True.
if we think that we can just ban these people on social media and stop them from saying things, That way the problem will go away. The problem will not go away. It's the same way. The problem will actually become far more worse if that happens,
Mm-hmm.
because they would have no challenge at all to their speech. They will not be getting ratioed on social media if they don't do that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they will gain more and more followers because they can go and actually target vulnerable people within communities to propel their stupid ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And also, obviously, the issue also becomes like, that person himself is going to become more and more radicalized. They will never try to actually see their own ideas as well in the light of you know uh, in the light of other people's views.
Mm-hmm.
And they will just become, because I'm seeing this trend a lot. Like, the people think that it's the same, sorry, it's the same as the recycling world, right? The world
Mm-hmm.
of recycling and the world of climate change and stuff like that in the West, right? So in
Mm-hmm.
the UK, people believe that recycling is very good. Yeah, recycling is very good, but what do you think is happening to your recycling garbage? The thing is, it's out of sight, out of mind, because they're sending all their garbage to places like Indonesia and stuff like that, and places like that to deal with. And over there, they're just putting in a landmine, and they're just building up the garbage over there. But people in UK think, oh, I have done a good thing because I have gotten rid of my recycling. Right, and that's the same thing that is happening within, I think, so social media as well, because people think, oh, it's out of my worldview, that means the problem is solved. The Nazis are
Yeah,
defeated.
as long as I don't see it anymore, it's
Yeah,
no longer there.
yeah,
Yeah, and I believe that's how they want to. And it's not a good approach. I will argue it's not a good way to solve the problem. I don't think it is a good way to solve the problem to just be like, oh, let me not see this again. Let me not have to deal with this again. If I don't see it, then it is no longer there. It is still there, and you have to deal with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You have to deal with it head on. You can't. And I've seen a lot of people, like, even on people that I like on social media, and they seem to be very happy about this banning of Tenet Media and of Lauren Chen and stuff like that. All of a sudden,
Mm.
some of them have also compared, like, oh, would you let Soviet Union sponsor your media in America while there was a Cold War going on? It's like the
First of all,
comparisons
there
are
is
not
no
the same.
Cold War going on.
Yeah. People might believe there's a Cold War going on. Even if there is a Cold War going on, it's not been proven, right? So let's just, this is the same DOJ that has gone after people like Trump mercilessly, done this
Mm-hmm.
Russia hoax so many times. It's become so lame now. Just come up
Mm.
with the idea that person has links with Russia. You don't even have to prove it. And after two
Mm.
or 3 years, they'll find out, oh yeah, Lon Chan had nothing to do with it. But by that time, they have destroyed her reputation. They've destroyed Tenet Media and stuff. It's been done so many times. I don't understand why people keep, and even if they are being funded, like, I don't care. See the merit of their ideas, and, like, move
Yeah,
on.
just
You don't
just
like
the
it, move on.
ideas, just the ideas based on the merits, not based on who is paying for it.
Hmm.
You know, that is that is that is the best way to approach this. What do you think of the of the Tucker Carlson interview with what's the name of this guy? What's that
Yeah,
guy's name?
I mean, the thing is, like, with Tucker Carlson, I've seen, like, for a very long time, I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or if he just gets taken in by these people. Because the thing is, by the end of the day, it's good media because in the sense of views in viewership, right? So it generates a controversy, it generates a lot of views, right?
Mm.
So I don't know if he knowingly does these things or not, because there's a lot of gullible people and they get taken in. Uh,
Mm.
and he knows, like, there's a lot of people within his audience that will get taken in by the false his history and stuff. Most of the
Mm.
historical knowledge that Americans have is way out of context, and they don't understand. They are only studying it from so far away, and they haven't lived those things. Or they still don't have people who have lived those things and stuff, and they don't understand the complex political history of all the regions within Europe, how it
Mm.
might seem something else in paper, by something else behind, and why certain things had to be done to maintain peace or combat other things. So it wasn't as if like, oh, Hitler would have stopped just if he would have just invaded Poland. If they would have just let him invade Poland. It's like, well, you clearly have no idea what you're talking about.
One of the things I think he exposed is just like you said, it's just how ignorant so many people are. It's just how ignorant so many people are, how, like, especially Westerners, even on the right, who claim they are free thinkers, they are thinking for themselves. You cannot think for yourself if you're not informed, right? And you cannot just keep doubting everything just for the sake of doubting it, right? Like, you say, "Oh, I'm going to doubt this book because it was published by this company, and this company is a big, huge company. What is the proof that you're not trying to push on it? Okay, then you're not going to trust anything. I'm not going to listen to this source because this source is looking suspect.
Yeah.
Okay, as opposed to what? Nick Fuentes?
Yeah.
As opposed to what? Like, it's so funny when they do this, and I'm like, okay, you're not going to follow what is in the library. You're not going to follow what you find on like Google leaked articles that have been there for like years, sources that have existed for years. You're not going to trust those. So what are you going to trust? One stuff written by one person or some website somewhere. That's what you're going to trust.
Yeah.
So that's one. And also people on the right should know that there are two kinds of brainwashed people. Okay, brainwashed people, one is the ones that believe everything that the mainstream media say. Everything that they say it is true. They believe it. You understand? The second kind of brainwashed people are people that believe nothing.
Yeah.
That the mainstream media, everything the media is saying is a lie. If you are that person,
Yeah,
you are brainwashed you are controlled in the other direction.
Yeah,
Because
the thing is, they are opposing things. They are against things, both of these extreme sets, rather than being for something, right? Because if they were for something, they would take the information on the merit of the information or try to research on its own. But this is what I find on the extremes as well, is when people don't have anything to fight for, they just become against anti something. That's why there are so many people who thinks being a contrarian is actually a sign of intelligence, right? So you see a lot of these people, oh, I don't believe this, or like this is false, completely false, or like you're wrong, because they just want to be a contrarian, and because they think like it just supposes that they are so intelligent that they're thinking about it. That's why they will oppose anyone. But actually, the lowest form of claiming intelligence.
Yeah, that's true. That's 100% true. That these people are they're just against something, and they are for. They don't know what they are standing for. So when you see yourself against something, instead of being for the truth, trying to know the truth, find the truth, discover the truth, and pro-truth, you're just against lies. So you're just, even the truth, you call it a lie because you want to be against something, or you are against standard narrative. I'm against you're against every standard narrative, even the ones that are proven to be true. You're going to be against it just for the sake of being against it, So yeah, that's what and also I feel maybe it's because people always say it's because you don't understand the history of anti-Semitism, or you don't understand the history of all these things and how they blossom into something else. But I also feel like everybody should calm down. It's not like, 2 weeks down the line, we are going to start throwing people into the gas chamber. Calm down, okay? Calm down. We are. You see, from today and the gas chamber, we are like many years away from it. It's not 1 week. This person is on Tucker Carlson, and tomorrow we are rounding up Jews. Okay, calm down. Because people will be like, oh my God, can you imagine these ideas are now becoming prevalent in mainstream conversation? My God, the end is near. I'm like, chill.
That is the case, isn't it? Like I said, just think like everything is going to end right now.
Yes, calm down.
I think so. There's a lot of things that I've seen in this regard as well, because people are scared, right? People are like being led by their fears a lot. And when people are led by their fears, and then there's no one to show them an alternative point of view of the world, a positive alternative point of view of the world, because we don't have leaders right now in the world, right? So, as I often say, like our shepherds have abandoned us, basically. They sold us to the wolves, and people are scared. So anything that happens, that is, and also people don't, which is what is going to bring us to our topic of the day, People have consistently left the fold of Christianity in the West and around the world as well. Like people are not believing in a positive God, so which makes them even more scared because now it's all their responsibility. Like they don't they can't trust anything on fate or anything like that. So I
Mm.
think that makes them more scared of the whole
Mm.
situation. So anything happens, they're like, oh my god, like World War III is gonna happen. Oh my god, like like everyone is going to hunt me down. And so it's like they are things happening, and there are possibilities of thing happening more if we let certain groups take control, right? Two
Mhm.
main groups are the communists and the Islamists. These are the
Mhm.
main problematic groups. If we let them take control, then yeah, progressively or year by year, it will come to that point that your fears will be realized.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
it will take some time. It
Mhm.
won't happen overnight, you know.
Mhm.
But I don't know if you feel this as well or not. I think so. The people want the world to be destroyed. People want there to be apocalypse, because I truly feel that, and people are like really willing for this to happen, while not willing for this to happen as well, because it takes away their responsibilities, right? They don't have
Mm.
to be responsible for the world anymore. They don't have to be responsible for their personal lives anymore then, because
Mm.
the world is ending and it can restart now. So that this
Mm.
mortgage that I'm trapped in, that I have to pay, this marriage that I'm trapped in, that I have to like be with, this job that I have to do every day, like and stuff like I don't have to do that anymore then. That's
Yeah,
what people think.
what you said reminded me. You just reminded me of when I was in school. So let me tell you this story of when I
Exactly.
was
Like,
in school.
that's what everyone thinks, right? When you're in
Yeah,
the school and you hate it, you
yeah.
want.
You are waiting for a riot, so of course, so you can just go home.
Mhm. Yeah, and
And
that,
it happened one time in school. So we had exams in like 2 weeks, and nobody was ready for the exam. And
yeah,
then things were happening in school, and then the student body, the students union, we are like, we are going to protest. We need to protest. And even amongst I can remember my roommates, when we were going for the protest, they were planning to turn it to a riot. They were they already had plans to turn it to a riot. Why? They were not ready for the exam. And they know once it becomes a riot, everybody will go home. They will give us like 2 months.
yeah,
We'll have time to prepare. So they were planning. And
yeah,
yes, their plan came true. It turned into a riot. They started destroying things, breaking windows and stuff, and doing all of that. The next day, they told everybody to go home. And everybody was happily
yeah,
going home because they knew what they did.
yeah,
They knew they didn't want to write exams in two
yeah.
weeks. So yeah, I feel
Yeah, and you know what it is as well. Like I think like people have when you have, I'll explain this like this. When you have a like really bad program and you're just trying to put code over code on top of it just to make
mm,
it like patchwork, you're doing patchwork on it, right? It
mm,
comes to a point where you just want the whole thing to collapse or just sell it off and buy a new software then.
mm,
This is what's happened because people bought into this idea that God is dead, and they are not
mm,
no longer satisfied with God, and they'll try this new program on. This new program is accumulation of possessions, materialism, finding your own happiness, and being
mm.
selfish and just taking care of your own self, right? And
Yeah.
they in this hollow life, they're putting this patch on and on and on. But no
Mm,
matter how much they buy things, how much they relate to just their needs and their stuff, not having
mm,
kids or like just me, stuff like that, it's not
mm,
making them happy. So, and
mm,
they can't admit that they bought a wrong product. So what they want to do is for the whole product to be destroyed. So in that way, they don't have to claim responsibility that they were led down a wrong path, and then
mm.
they can realign themselves. Because people who believe in God, people who have a Christian point of view, they do not want the world to be destroyed. You know,
Oddly enough, and we have every reason to want it to end because when the world ends, we'll go to heaven. But yet, we don't want it to end. We want to make the world a
they
better
don't
place.
want it to end like as well. Like a lot of people want to do more good deeds because they want to make sure they go into heaven and stuff. You don't just
Mm.
want the world to end because then you're a Muslim, right? Muslims want the world to end straight away because they'll be rewarded with their virgins and stuff in heaven.
Yeah, yeah. So what I think about like the what do I want to say? Yeah, and also another thing that I noticed about people in the West, maybe is also related to this, is just this like call it, they're disenchanted with the whole idea of freedom, of liberty, of liberalism, of democracy. People are
Mm,
like fed up with it. I know you tend to see it. You tend to have women. I've spoken with few of them, not a lot of them, but I think they represent a larger crowd of women in the West who are like, Islam speaks to my femininity, or this idea of, you get what I'm saying, and I understand where they are coming from. As much as, yeah, what they are saying is wrong, but I understand this. We are disenchanted, we are disillusioned.
yeah,
We
they
don't,
don't
we
want
don't.
to.
Yeah, we are no longer buying into this. It looks like this whole liberal project,
Yeah. Mm,
or whatever it is that we have been trying for in the West for a very long time, it's not working for me, or I don't see it working in my face. So because they are this disillusioned and stuff, that's how you find many of them revert to Islam, or you see them, adopt other worldviews and stuff like that. That's why you see so many white women date African men. I don't know if you are aware of this trend. There are many like who come over to Africa, date African men, marry them, and live in Africa for a very long time. So there are trends like that, and what I would say to people like that is, I understand your frustrations. I understand where you are coming from. When you look at feminism, for example, you can say, okay, the idea of women empowerment and liberation and stuff is looking like it's getting out of hand. When you look at what we define as freedom, sometimes the meaning of freedom is becoming like just do whatever, or it's just not making sense anymore. And I understand it. The
mm,
solution, however, is not to embrace tyranny or embrace anything
mm,
different simply because you're like, there's this idea people do a lot in the West. They have it a lot in the West. Anything but this. You see it. Anything but. I will settle for anything but Kamala Harris. So I will settle for anything but Trump. I will settle for anything but this.
yeah,
I'm like, anything is
be really
anything
bad.
means, yeah, anything means anything.
Yeah,
So are you sure you by anything you mean anything?
yeah,
Because you feel like I will settle for anything but liberalism. I'm like, have you considered every other option that is out there and see that there are some that are worse, like way, 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 way worse than what you are seeing in a liberal society? That's the first thing. Don't have this mindset of anything but this. Look at what is the other way forward. What are my other options? And what is actually the problem with liberal with the liberal society we find today, and what are the solutions? Like, learn from the Reformation of the 1600s, or the 16th century rather. Learn
mm,
from the Reformers, learn from the Protestants. What did the Protestants do? They say, let us return to the old idea of the scriptures and the apostles, of Jesus and the apostles. Learn from them. That is how the Catholic Church in the 16th century was able to be reformed, because people were like, let us go back to certain original ideas instead of carrying on with what is already. If something is corrupt, fix it by trying to restore it, or
mm,
let them not use restore, but trying to reform it. Try and
mm,
reform it, bring it back to its old. There is the liberal, the idea upon which the Western societies are founded upon are very good ideas.
yeah,
Yes, you seem to have been going. Your society seems to be going way off track. What it needs is not Islam. What it needs is not communism. What it needs is not something new. What it needs is for it to return to the
yeah,
original ideas that it was founded upon. It's the
yeah,
same thing that someone like, and that is people you admire historically. This is what they did. Like Martin Luther King, for example. Martin Luther King was on simply asking Americans, or demanding from Americans, to live out or manifest in full the idea upon which it was founded on. It was not asking for something new. It's like, this is the idea you were founded on: freedom and liberty for all. All men were created equal. Live up to it. That is all he was saying. He was not saying, oh, we need to get rid of this system and build a new one upon the ashes of when we destroy this one. No, it's like, and that is what you need in the West. This is our values, these are our ideas. Let us return to those, not let us create something new. So that is because At the end of the day,
Even when you create something new, it has to inform from your traditions and from your past, so that it has a long term connection, right? So because
yeah.
you are connected to it more than, and you are more likely to survive in that new system because it's something that you are historically known to have come from.
Mm-hmm.
You have a build up knowledge towards it, right? So you can't just take like an engineer and put them in a kitchen, in a chef, as a chef,
Mm-hmm.
and expect them that that will be good for them. If they come from a long line of engineers, from
Mm-hmm.
like grandfather and like father and like him, because they will be passed down knowledge of that sort of a system for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just break the chain and just put them like will be undone from the burdens of our past, or something like how Kamala Harris says, which
Yeah.
is a Marxist thing to say. But this is how you subvert a system, right? When you
Mm,
disconnect people from their past like that, and which
mm,
is what
mm,
has happened. And people also need to understand, like when they think like the apocalyptic era would be better for them, the revolution would be better for them. I
mm,
don't think so. They understand what happens in a revolution. They don't understand the misery and the death and the suffering that happens over there, and justice is never delivered within a
mhm,
revolution, right? Look at the French Revolution. They thought they were doing something good. They did something because of which they are still suffering its consequences now. They have essentially, from year on year, lost the French identity because of their ideals from the French Revolution, their liberal
revolution.
ideals that were not Anglo liberalism. Because liberalism is very much in tune to the Anglosphere. They understand they don't need to define it; they live
Mm,
it, right? And they
mm,
live it properly.
mhm,
It is very much connected to their national identity and nation and stuff. Now that liberalism is being subverted for a very long time by Marxists, that's a different that's a different story. But when
mm,
liberalism was transported into France, it didn't live out to the best of its ability, and it just
mm,
disconnected people, and it's still going on right now. But the main point is the apocalyptic ideals of the French Revolution, it didn't play out. There was a lot of suffering and pain of what happened. A lot of people were
mm,
killed. A lot of people's souls were marred for life for
mm,
what atrocities they committed. People should really read Edmund Burke's book on the lessons from French Revolution as well. It's a really good read. But yeah, people need to understand that the complete disconnection from the past i- will lead you down to anti-human ideas, because you're going
mm,
to be so lost, right? The thing is that when you're so lost in the darkness, it completely lost and stuff, and you're scared out of your mind now. You tried to do everything that you could, but it's
mhm,
not working by what the new idea has told you about it, and you're still in the dark, right? You just
mhm,
want to kill yourself. And this is what's
mm,
I feel like happening to the whole of the Western civilization, that
mm,
they've gone so deep into these ideas that they just want to kill themselves and be just done with it, like just end it for them, rather than see the light and return to the things that made sense in the past. Those your traditional roots, your traditional connections. There was a reason why Christianity is important to the West. Not only because, like, for Christians like yourself, you would say that, yeah, because it is true, right?
mm, mm,
For myself, as a Christian deist who believes in the wisdom of Christianity, but not in right now, not in
mm,
the facts of its truths, I would say it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It matters
mm,
that it provided a framework, a better framework than what was there before, and
mm,
it organized people better. And it's not Christianity. It was not. It didn't come as a finished article. It was year upon year it improved, and it
mm,
fixed itself. Year upon year it fixed itself. So there were atrocities that were committed in the name of Christ as well, but
mm,
they were self-regulated and self-fixed, because it
mm,
had that mechanism within itself
mm,
to criticize itself, to correct itself. And this is what the Western ideas are built upon. This self-correction, this rerouting yourself. That is what the ideals that the West needs to return to.
True. I agree. Of course, one thing I strongly believe when it comes to like Christianity and its impact in society is that for it to be effective, I would say it. You may not agree with me, but I say for Christianity to be effective and impactful in society, you need to believe that it is true.
No, yeah, of course. But what
You
I'm
have to
saying
believe
is
that
like,
it is true.
what I'm saying also is like, people, when you have a society that doesn't even know how to walk, you can't ask them to run, right? So
Yeah.
you have to build their muscles, right? So you first have to make them build their muscles, as probably I am doing in my journey as well, building
Sure.
my muscles to be able to learn how to walk first. And once I'm good at walking and stuff, then I can start running, right? So, which has happened to the most people in the society. So you first need to bring that up them to that point, and then we can say, we can't demand people who have been so sedated spiritually, who have been so disconnected spiritually for so long, to all of a sudden start believing. Because you know what will happen? What will happen is what we are seeing right now, or people just shouting on the streets, Christ is king, Christ is king, while not understanding the wisdom of the Christ at all, or also not understanding the need to understand the wisdom, and not thinking the need to understand wisdom as well of the Christ. They think that because they are shouting this slogan, that is enough, they've done their part, right? And then they will go on and say the most unchristian things, and they would try to act out the most unchristian things, you know.
Yeah, and they're even using the Christ is King slogan to back up things that are so unchristian, things that are so ungodly. Is really one of the interesting things that has happened in recent days,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, where people use like Christianity to well, it's something that has always been. It has always been. You always find people use Christianity for their personal gain, for their personal interest, to further things that are anti-Christian. We have them a lot in this very great country called Nigeria.
yeah,
We have we have plenty. It is now an epidemic at this point. Epidemic of fake pastors. Essentially, what they do, what they do is try to scam their congregation.
yeah,
Uh, oh, Jax is here. Look at that. You see, I have people. I bring people. Okay, I'm a magnet. I am a social media magnet. I bring people. Just thank you for tuning in. I am so sorry. Sorry I didn't announce it. In fact, I didn't know if this was going to happen. Momus just
yeah.
kept saying
I
it will
was so
happen
busy
soon.
at work, I forgot.
Yeah, so it was when I saw him send me the link. I was like, okay, this is happening. This thing is real.
Yeah,
So so sorry. That's on Momos's part. Anyway, what was I saying? I was saying
saying pastors,
yeah,
the fake
yeah, pastors, they scam their audience. They'll tell you, God told me to do this. God told me to tell you to do this. If you want to get God's blessing, you need to pay this amount of money. You need to sow this amount of seed. You need to, do something dangerous for the Lord. And by doing something dangerous for the Lord is that they want you to empty your bank account and give it to them. And they're just scamming gullible housewives and gullible men who are in desperate situation and looking for a quick breakthrough. We have them a lot in this country. Like when I see people take advantage of Christianity in the West, like use it to further their political agenda, political ideas and stuff. When I see it, I'm like, yeah, you just remind me a lot like the Nigerian pastors. And this has always been the case. It has always been, even in the time of the apostles, when Paul was writing, he warned Christians about people who serve whose God is their belly, meaning who they are serving is themselves. They co-opt Christianity and use it to further their own ideas. They use it to further their own agenda.
But
And
that's
they
why
corrupt.
if you want to beware of the false prophets and stuff, because
Yeah, the false
because
prophets and false teachers. Yeah.
yeah,
So it is a common thing. And that, like you said, people, Christians need to, which is something that I think is what lays the foundation for falsehood in Christianity is when you have a congregation, when you have a group of Christians who are ignorant about their faith. They don't know what the Bible teaches. They don't know what they're supposed to believe. Their religiosity is not really strong.
Mm,
Their relationship with God is almost non-existent. Their understanding of the scriptures is abysmal,
mm,
and you just see them fall for anything, right? They are tossed to and fro by every wave of doctrine. If somebody comes today and say this, they follow that. If another person comes tomorrow and say this, they follow that. They're just going back and forth, left and right. Any wave of doctrine is just moving them to whatever direction. They are not firm. They are not deeply rooted in their understanding of uh, of Christ and their understanding of the gospel. So yes, it is very important, very, very important for Christians to understand what they believe in. This
yeah.
is something that I'm not saying it's most Muslims don't understand what they believe in, but at least this is something that is,
A lot of Muslims don't like. This is what I found. Like, it depends where they are. If they are in Arab, they might, because they speak
yeah.
the same language and they understand what they're reading. But if
Mm,
it's in the other parts, in non-Arab parts, they actually don't understand what they're reading. Especially in places like Pakistan, where most people are illiterate. They can't even read or write, right? And their intelligence level obviously is pretty
mm,
low.
mm,
They can be easily led, so they don't know any of those things. And we had these imams and stuff who would fool these people in the villages that,
mm.
oh, your daughter, or she has the jinn in her and stuff like that, and I have to be in a room alone with her, to take this jinn. Obviously he was raping her, right? So uh,
Yeah.
these things happen a lot. And also I'm seeing this trend right now these days, which is taking on from the American evangelist, who, like, who will take the devil out of you, who will heal you, and you will feel something like, you're flapping on the and stuff like that, right? So that historical stuff is like, I'm seeing that trend
People
in
like
Muslims as well.
those things. That's one thing that I people like drama.
Yeah.
You
And
see, human beings, you like
yeah.
drama. If you see a pastor who just sits down and teach you the word of God and is just like
Yeah,
just telling you
yeah,
what the Bible says, that's
entertaining.
boring.
Yeah,
It's
it's
very
boring. Like,
boring.
do something.
But if you
Like,
see
do
a pastor
something.
that is saying yaga yaga yaga, you're like, yo, my daddy, my pastor,
Yeah.
speak to me. We like drama. We like
Yeah, I mean, it's and it's everywhere. It's like people who go to WWE, they know it's fake, but they believe in the moment. They believe, like, yes, Triple H is actually doing it. Yes, Undertaker is actually back from the dead. Like, you
I'm
just
like, if you believe lies, if you find lies to be entertaining, and they are sometimes, just watch movies, okay? Just watch movies,
well,
okay? Just
the
watch
church
movies.
itself has to actually do more to dispel these people, because but the church has a history of letting these people work, like you were saying as well, because these people were bringing in the money for the church, and they justified it in their head by saying, okay, he's doing something wrong, but it's helping the congregation or whatever. It's actually not, because it's helping your pockets.
Mm.
There's no
This
point
is
of having 20 churches, right? If none
Mhm.
of them are going to teach, it's better to have just one church as a building, right?
I
If it's
agree.
going to
I
teach
agree with you.
things,
I agree with you. It's also another problem we have in in Nigeria as well. Like you have we like my street has like how many churches in it, right? Okay, it is a very long street, so
mm,
I of course a long street in Nigeria should have like a couple of churches. So
mm,
maybe it's because it's not a short street, but my street, like in where I'm living in Nigeria, has multiple churches,
mm,
and for the most part, they're just saying the same thing.
yeah,
They just do it. It's like they all got the same brochure, and they are working based on what is written inside, and they all say the same thing, and it's not like, of course, the gospel is the same. It's not like, and Jesus is the same yesterday, today,
yeah,
and forever. But the problem is the prosperity gospel. All of them are preaching it. the sow seed now, and God is going to turn your life around. All of them are doing it. You need to be delivered from so and so. All of them are doing the same. Like, it's just
Yeah.
how every people we are uniform in teaching the core gospel, right?
Mm.
If that is the uniformity that you guys share, I will be all for it. But if you have a uniformity in just teaching things that I find to be problematic when it comes to
Yeah.
Christian
They
teaching.
turned it into a business. When you
Yeah,
turn anything into a business, that's what happens. This is my problem with the Catholic Church. I had Gavin Ashington on, and he's turned Catholic. Um, and like, he told me some good things about Catholic Church and stuff, which I agree with and stuff like that. But initially, like, originally, I have an issue with the Catholic Church because I see when the Catholic Church, Roman Catholic Church, came into being, it just became a business. It just became
yes, especially in the 16th century, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken, where they were what was it called? Uh, what they were doing with penance and indulgence, where you have to pay certain.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and it was just in the business of getting as much land and money from all the European kings and stuff like that. I think it has long corrupted itself with those sort of things. I have more sympathy towards the Orthodox churches, and I want to explore more that side of
mm,
Christianity and Orthodox and stuff, because the Orthodox also mix with the Coptics and so I think so. It's the same strand.
yeah, it's the same.
Uh,
It's the same. It's the
yeah,
same. There
and
are many Orthodox
yeah,
churches. There's
and
Ethiopian, Eastern
that
Orthodox.
is actually I feel like more probably to my ancestral history and stuff, because I am from those lands, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that is more to my sort of, like, I might take them on board a bit more than the Catholics or stuff, because their thinking or their way of teaching and might be a bit similar to what I'm used to historically, right? So, but
Yeah,
I want to look
I
more
understand.
into it.
I understand that. People who don't know, I'm Protestant. Uh, in the broad sense, I'm not going to tell you if I'm Baptist or if I'm evangelical or if I'm just now I'm Protestant. I'm not Catholic.
Yeah,
I'm Protestant, and yeah, I one of the things I admire about people always say, oh, Protestants are always breaking down into new division and new sets are always coming out in the
mm,
Protestant space and stuff like that. But one thing I like about being a Protestant is is that I feel strongly that if there is any error to come into the body of Christ, let's say a popular error to
mm,
come into the body of Christ, I feel the Protestant way will be more quick in responding to it and dealing with it than
yeah,
any other. That's just maybe it's because I'm a Protestant that I'm saying this, but I feel strongly about the like
Protestant.
when yeah, because when the Pope has when the bishops and the popes have said this is what it is, if they are wrong, you cannot oppose them. You just have to go with what they. And sometimes they make certain things and say, if you don't believe this, you are anathema. And I'm like, even this one, especially like when you talk about the assumption of Mary, for example, and they're like,
Mm,
any person who does not believe this, you know, let him be an anathema. And I'm like, the assumption of Mary is not even something historically that I think is verified. Was there really a bodily assumption of Mary? Did she
mm,
really was her body really taken to heaven?
mm,
Who are the witness? Who are people who witnessed this? When
mm.
did this story result? Like, there's certain things that I feel because there is already church authority, like Catholic church authority, fully backing it,
Yeah,
and then telling you as a member of that congregation that if you go against it, then you are cursed.
and they don't like
I
the thing
know.
is that they hold so much information and there's so much secrecy and stuff over there as well.
I'm telling you, that's another part of it that I'm like, okay, can you be a little bit more transparent?
No,
Also, doctrine wise, as a Protestant, doctrine wise, I have so many things that I find hard,
mm,
difficult to like Catholic doctrine that I wrestle with. So I'm like, I have a problem with this one, or I have a problem with this assumption, or
mm,
I have a problem. Not let me not call it assumption with this doctrine. Like
mm.
I have questions, and the answers you guys are giving me are not
Agree.
satisfactory.
Yeah.
They're not and You people are not even required to give me satisfactory answer,
Yeah.
because if I don't believe it, I'm cursed.
Yeah.
I'm most likely doomed to go to hell according to Catholicism. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, can you at least explain this to me? Instead of threatening me with hellfire. I'm not saying they're not explaining it. I'm just saying I'm not buying the explanation. Yes, you're like, I'm going to go to hell. So that is kind of like my issue with, as a Protestant, as a Protestant, I feel even the way I look at Catholics, I don't see them as people who will go to hell.
Mm.
Like even though their doctrines they hold that I think are like, I think has no bearing in scriptures, or even the tradition of the apostles that they claim to be continuing, the apostolic tradition, which I don't see evidence for. Some of the things that they claim are apostolic tradition, I don't see I don't see the evidence for it. But still, I don't see them as, oh, these people are doomed, to go to hell. I see like, well, if you want to believe that, fine.
Mm.
On the last day, we will all know who is right and who is not right. And I believe that God is merciful. It's not going to be like, because you did not believe that Mary, the mother of Christ, was bodily assumed to heaven, then you are going to hell. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think God is going to be like that if it turns out to be true that Mary was indeed bodily assumed. So the way I view certain things that are not like core of the Christian faith and
Mm.
that people don't believe in or people believe in, and how people react, I don't feel like those things carry so much weight. Like, you believe in Jesus, yes. You believe in the Trinity, yes. You
Mm.
believe in the doctrine of the apostles, yes.
Yeah.
Then I'm like,
Yeah,
we might have other things
this is
we don't agree on, but I'm fine with it. Like,
Yeah, this is
I'm
the
fine
thing.
with it.
This is the thing with Catholic Church as well. Like, it's an institution, and it demands, and it's sort of like the Roman Empire turned itself into the Roman Catholic Church, so that it can still maintain hold of of Europe. And
Mm.
that's what I feel with it. So that's why I'm not too sure about it. Like, my wife is Polish, and she grew up like Catholic and stuff, and she knows how restricted that is. So when she came in contact with Church of England, she feels like, okay, this is more Christianity that she
Yeah,
feels
it's more.
personally
I feel
more
it's more
welcoming.
free.
Yeah, but obviously now it's corrupted by the woke liberalism, right? But
True.
if it wasn't, then it's not that bad. But this is what makes me feel like, maybe but there's others as well. Like, there's Free Church of England, which has been created, which is outside of the woke narrative, to explore and stuff as well. And also,
Mm.
there's like the Orthodox churches. I really do want to explore them at some point. I just want to make people aware that for some reason, Riverside has decided that it's not going to show me the chats anymore. So I can see the people are giving chat. There's people, a lot of people talking on YouTube. Jax has sent some money over as well, so thank you, Jax. But for some reason, it's not showing up. I have to actually go on the back end of YouTube to check those. So yeah, I'm fairly new to live stream, and I really can't be bothered with what it's doing. I don't know why it's doing that. The
So
last
use
message I have,
StreamYard for live streams. Use Stream. This is me becoming brand ambassador for StreamYard. I'm
yeah,
becoming brand ambassador for so many products.
yeah,
And if they pay me, they should say, all I want, StreamYard, is a shirt. That's Send me a shirt
yeah,
and send me a face cap. That's all I want. Okay. The
yeah.
same thing.
That's what I'm thinking.
Starlink, Elon Musk.
That's why StreamYard works so much better, because yeah, I have no idea what it's doing, but it's not showing. The last message it showed me was, "Hi Momus, hi Frank, sorry I'm late," from Jax. And
Yeah.
it has been many messages since that I can see on my YouTube. So apologies to all the people. It's just I don't know. I think so. It's like I told you, the reason why I have Riverside is because of its AI clipping and stuff. Like,
Mm.
it makes short clips for me.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm addicted to it. But it might be an option that I just have StreamYard just for live streaming or
yeah,
something.
yeah. Just for live stream, I think. Just for
Yeah,
live streams, I think you should
but
have
this
stream.
is so annoying. This is so annoying. See, it doesn't even let me notify people in advance on YouTube that my like stream is coming up. So whatever people I get is like on the spot.
Yeah.
So,
They do on
let's
the spot streams.
yeah, on the spot streams. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So let's talk about let's talk about the atrocities that are being committed against the Christians in Nigeria,
Mm.
um, by the Islamists, right? So, but before we come to that as well, set the scene a bit about like a brief overview of, like, how many different tribes there are actually, and ethnicities there are actually in Nigeria. I know
Wow.
to
All right, let's see.
most
Let's see if
people,
we can.
like to most people, all Africans are the same, but all Nigerians are actually not the same, even the same ethnicities, and there's multiple languages in Nigeria. But
Yeah,
set the scene about that, and set the scene why there's a problem, because we know, like as you've talked before, about the North and the South divide and stuff like that, of the
yeah, yeah,
Muslim
yeah.
control area and the Christian control area. So yeah, over to
All
you.
right. So let me give the quick overview. Nigeria is that's modern day Nigeria is consists of over 270 tribes across over 370 tribes across over 250 ethnic groups, speaking over 500 dialects. And I think dialects is the better way to call it than languages because it might be the same language, just different variation. So yeah, that is Nigeria. That's how complex the countries. I recorded a video today. One of the things I said about Nigeria in the video is Nigeria is the one country that proves that diversity is nobody's strength. Okay. when people say in the world diversity is our strength, I'm like, come to Nigeria. This is the proof that it doesn't. Nobody's strength is in being diverse, because diversity is one of our part of our numerous problems, right? Uh, so yeah, prior to the British colonial rule in Nigeria, uh, Nigeria was divided into tribes and kingdoms, right? In the west, in the western region, you have the Oyo Empire, comprising of various Yoruba, I call it kingdoms now, comprising of let me call it kingdoms or principalities, so to speak. You know, they call their let me not give you the name. Just we had the Oyo Empire in the west. You have the Benin Empire. Not is it the Benin Empire or the Edo Empire? I think it's better to call it the Edo Empire. And then towards the south, you had the Boni Empire and you had the Calabar Empire. And in the east, you had the Igbo tribes, and also in part of the south, you also had other tribes, people who were living in tribes. Then towards to the north, we had the Hausa states, and you had the Kanembonu Empire. The Kanembonu Empire was one of the biggest empires in northern Nigeria and also in West Africa. The Kanembonu Empire was really big, comprising of many what later become Hausa kingdoms, and Fulanis and Kanuris. We are all in that empire. It was also a diverse empire, right? The part in Nigeria that had contact with Islam was the northern part, because that was the part that was dealing with Arab traders who were buying slaves and other products from West Africa.
You just call your own people products. But go on.
I said slaves and other products.
Yeah, no,
That's what I said, right?
they were the products, and then there were other products.
Sorry, there was a time where people were products. Sorry, it happened. I don't know what you want me to say. So they were buying slaves and other products.
Slave and products.
And products, sorry. Slaves and products, other products. Okay. So that was what we are dealing in the north. So we are the first to and with such trade, there is an exchange of culture, an exchange of religion. So you had Hausa states, and also the Kanem-Borno Empire. You could find pockets of Muslim reverts in those areas, right? But we didn't have those in the southern part. Like you didn't have those in the Oyo Empire. You didn't have those in the Igbo tribes. You didn't have those in tribes that are down south of West Africa. We didn't have those because we did not encounter those people, right? Also, you need to know something about Nigeria is that we have two rivers that kind of separate the north from the south. You have the River Niger, which is the second largest or the third largest river in the world, and the river Benue. So we have two rivers that is just cutting off the south from the north, essentially. Although there are places where it narrows, but for the most part, it's like separating the south from the north, right? And also separating the east from the west. It's funny. Nigeria is divided into three because of that river, kind of, because you have the west, you have the west, the east, and then you have the north, right? So so they were dealing with Arab traders, and they were bringing in Islam. But towards the, I think, 18th century or so, you had like a thriving Muslim population in the north, right? And this Muslim population had leaders that were Muslim, not like it was like a caliphate or something, but you had a Muslim population, you have Muslim leaders, and there were groups within these Hausa kingdoms and the Kanem-Borno Empire that we are critical of how these Muslim kings we are governing, because the Muslim kings were corrupt, very corrupt, and we are critical of how they were governing their domain and you know, the laws that they had in place and stuff. So one of the people who we are critical of this is Uthman Danfodio, and Uthman Danfodio was a preacher, like a Muslim preacher, who was telling people to, you know, to rebel against their kings, essentially, and realize that their kings does not represent, you know, what Allah wants for them, and, you know, that they should fight to establish a caliphate. And over time, he was able to gather a huge following. And when he had enough, you know, he was banished at one point. I don't know where he was banished. I think he was banished from the Hausa states, and then he moved to Kanem-Borno, something like that. But over time, he was able to gather a huge following, and they waged a jihad in the north. That was known as the Jihad of Uthman Danfodio, that established the Muslim Caliphate in northern Nigeria. And in fact, it was that jihad that brought Islam to the western part of Nigeria, because prior to that, the western states were not having dealings with Arabs. They weren't. The western states didn't have, or the Oyo Empire didn't have dealings. They had dealings with Hausas, but they didn't have dealings with the Arabs, for the most part. So it was that jihad, because the jihad took over parts of what is now modern day Kwara state, right? And when that was in effect, Muslim preachers were now moving down west. Okay, so that was how like most of western part of Nigeria became Islamic. So why that was happening, the goal of the jihad, it was not just to stop with the Hausa states, of course. It was to extend to the entire region. That means go to the west and go to the east, and, you know, make everybody Muslims. And of course, you know, we didn't have Christians back then, so the option would be either you convert or, you know, you die. But I don't think this is also something I need to point out. I don't think the caliphate was able to enforce that, because you still had people under the Islamic caliphate in the north who were still worshipping ancestral spirits and natural spirits. You had in the Hausa tribe of Nigeria, you have people who they call, like, Hausas today are predominantly Muslim. That's like the primary religion amongst Hausas. But you still have people they call the Mugazawa, who are not Muslims. So I don't think they were really like fully enforcing that, or the caliphate or the Sokoto caliphate was fully enforcing that, you know, killing non-Muslims. Or I think they did, but not extensively, I would say. So while they were planning to move down south, you know, in the 16th century, you had the Portuguese come to the southern part of modern day Nigeria. Then you had, you know, slavery happening in the south, where slaves were bought from southern tribes and kingdoms, like the Oyo Empire, the Boni Empire, the Calabar Empire, the, you know, Arochukwu. If you are from the east, you know how Arochukwu was notorious for slave trade. And also what's it called? I think it's Abriba, I'm not sure, but one of those notorious for slave trade in Igbo land. So these people were selling slaves to the Portuguese, and also as the Portuguese and also other European people were coming to Africa, they were coming with Christianity. It's just funny how Europeans can sell people and still preach the gospel, you know. So while they were buying slaves, they were also coming with priests who would want to share the gospel, and they were preaching in the south. And of course, as slavery was ending, colonial rule was starting, and then you had consulates that were established in the south, and before you know, the British were in the south. And the British came, they allowed Christianity to thrive in the south, but they didn't allow it to thrive in the north because it was easier to govern the north under Islam.
Mm.
Christianity was going to create for the British, or at least that was their calculation, that Christianity was going to, allowing missionaries to operate in the north was going to destabilize the north, and they do not want to rule over a destabilized society, essentially. So they were like, you know what? Because they told people like there's this movement then that they called CMS. I think it's CMS that it was called, led by Bishop Ajayi Crowther. Bishop Ajayi Crowther was a former slave, who became a bishop and came back to Nigeria, because that was where he was taken from, to spread the gospel, to spread Christianity. He was a Protestant, a very effective evangelist in Western Nigeria, and he wanted to take the gospel. CMS wanted to take the gospel. I don't know if it's CMS. I don't want to call them the wrong name, but something like that is what they were called. They wanted to take the gospel to various states in the north, but they were prevented by the British. The British were like, don't do that. You're going to create social conflict, because Islam coming in contact with any other religion is always problematic for them.
Mm.
Spreading fitna, right? Spreading corruption in the land. So they didn't want that. So that is why today in Nigeria you have the South predominantly Christian. You have the Middle Belt that we are also predominantly Christian, because the effect of the Muslim Caliphate from the north, the rule was not vehement, especially in the middle, like Jos, Benue. They did not see that heavy-handed Islamic rule. What the places that witnessed that had that fully concentrated is places like Sokoto, modern day states in Nigeria like Sokoto, Zamfara, Kaduna, Kano, Borno, which is where Boko Haram is currently operating. And most of the 12 northern states, even these days, it has extended to Niger State, which used to be like half Christian, half Muslim. The funny thing is that recently I was reading something about Africa, and the article was talking about describing Africa and how Islam, the rate of Islam in Africa, and was like, oh, there are certain areas that are not Islamized or Arabized, but over time we are beginning to see a trend of Arabization. And the way the article wrote it was like it was a natural process that was just occurring. He annoyed me. The way they talked about it annoyed. It was making it look like people are just adopting Arab way of life. And I'm like, no, these people are being killed.
Yeah.
Add it in your article that they are being killed, forcefully Arabized. What do you mean by most part of Africa is becoming? So essentially, that is what we see when we talk about the conflict, the religious conflict in Nigeria. Of course, it's not Arabization for Nigeria; it's more Islamization.
Mm.
That is what is happening.
Ideological colonization. So
yeah, so Islamic colonization essentially.
mm.
We get news stories about this every time. Like just yesterday, this news report of 81 people that were killed by jihadists. I don't know where this took place. Let me see if I can confirm that where it took place. Give me a second. Let me confirm it.
That's all right. While you're checking, thank you to Katie for sending us some money.
Oh, this was an attack by Boko Haram, and they killed 80. I want to know the area. Okay, this happened in Yobe State. In Yobe State, which is I think in the northeast.
Mm.
So I don't know if Yobe is in the northeast, but in my head, when I'm looking at the Nigerian map, it's looking like it's towards the east. It's just down of Borno State. So yeah, it's one people were killed just yesterday. On the 2nd of September, we have was it 2nd of September now? Not 2nd of September. I think on the 15th or 13th rather of August, you had 50 people killed by jihadists who raided a village and stormed a Catholic church during mass, killing 20 people or more. We also had on the 5th of August Muslims attacking a police station in Borno State and killing two and seizing weapons. You had Muslims also on the 3rd of August. This is like everyday thing. This is Nigeria,
Mm.
okay? It happens every day. Muslims murdered 16 people and injured dozens, in a jihad bombing on a roadside market. You have on July 28th, Muslims murdered 18 Christians in Benue State. And Benue State is just the Bible Belt close to Jos. This is not up north. What else? You have 12 people also murdered in Benue State recently. Of course, you guys are familiar with the reports that in the last 10 years or so, 15 years, over 50,000 Christians have been killed in northern Nigeria by a radical Islamic group, or like I like to call
That's
them,
just the Arabization of Nigeria, isn't it?
yeah.
People are getting killed. People don't like the people getting killed. They're coming in and they're just gunning down people. They're gunning down priests. They're gunning down
Like,
people who are praying. Like
how it happens in Nigeria is so. I live in a country that is it's one of the ups. Will I call it the positives and the negatives of Nigeria? It's like this is one thing about Nigerians that I admire. It's also something about Nigeria that I consider problematic, right? Nigerians are people who can easily adapt to anything.
Yeah.
Like, I have never seen people who easily adapt to something, and like when it happens the first 2 or 3 times, everybody in the country is like, "Oh my God, how can this be happening?"
And then they just adjust to it.
They're like, just leave that place. If you don't like the violence, maybe you should consider leaving that place. That's what they will tell you. Like, you're like, I live in this place and this place is not safe. And the Nigerian response is, have you considered leaving?
Well, I encountered this mentality in Pakistan, right? So it came to a point where you would hear, there has been a terrorist attack in somewhere in the West, right? And 10 people have died. And people in Pakistan, including myself, would go, 10 people have died. That's not a terrorist attack. It's like 10 people. It's just, why are they crying so much, right? And
yes,
because you are attuned to devaluing human life so much that unless it's thousands and thousands of people in one go, it's not a tragedy. Or 10 people, that happens every day. That was happening every day in Karachi. 10 people were just dying. 20 people were just dying. Someone would just come and gun down people because they had a problem with certain person and they were a gang member, but he just killed bystanders on the way. That just happens.
That is especially during Christmas. There's one that happened I think it's still happening in Nigeria still. That's why people are afraid to travel by road in Nigeria. They prefer to travel by air because the roads are no longer safe, right? So, like, we'll hear an entire bus. Usually when they want to kidnap, maybe they kidnap 4 or 5 people from the bus, and everybody gets to go because the kidnappers didn't have what it takes to kidnap everyone in the bus. But no, this time during December, we were here an entire bus, 2 buses. In fact, there was one that happened where these kidnappers, they took their time, stopped traffic, and every bus, one after the other, come out. And like it was the brazenness, or if there's anything like that, the audacity. We are not rushing, we are not in a hurry. We have all day, okay? We have all day. We are taking all of you. Do you understand? We are taking all of you, and we must get ransom from every one of you. It was crazy. That was the one that happened, and Nigerians were like, "What is going on?"
It's so bizarre that it does, like, you end up laughing, but obviously you're not laughing because you like what you're seeing, but it's just bizarre that you just don't know what to do but laugh at it. Like, what the hell?
What is going on? What is going on in the country? Yeah, that's kind of like what the laugh is. The laughter is not like, oh, this is a very funny stuff. Of course, I have a wicked sense of humor, but
no, but it is like, it's what was happening in Pakistan as well. Like, it's so brazen. I remember an incident where there was a politician who had said something to one of the people. This is one of the feudal lords' son or something like that.
Mm.
Because he was like one of those few honest politicians who wanted to do good for the people of the local politician and stuff.
Mm.
In broad daylight, that guy just came in and he shot him. In
Mm.
broad daylight, he just shot him on the road, and then he went to the police station. He said he hasn't done it, and the police station said, "Okay, yeah, we believe you. You haven't done it." And that case
Wow.
was closed. And these things just used to happen. Now
Yes.
the intensity of that is goes up and down depending on who's in administration, right? So when
Yeah.
Musharraf came into administration, these sort of things were not happening.
Mm.
There was a martial law, and the military came in, and General Musharraf came in. And in those times, there was the most peace that I had seen, because I had only been in Pakistan for 10 years, and that was
Mm.
the most peaceful time where mobile snatching stopped, and you could actually go out at midnight and night and stuff, and you were safe,
Mm.
relatively safe in Karachi, in one of the
Mm.
biggest cities in Pakistan. And those positive things happened, but there was a very brief time while he was there. And when he went away, because I have had incidences where mobile have been snatched from me and stuff, to a point where I bought a new mobile phone, but that was to keep at home. You don't take your mobile phone out. Oh, what the hell is wrong with you? You would
Where
take
where
an old
where
Nokia phone
mobile
outside.
phones where
Yeah.
mobile phones are no longer for mobile use.
No, 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 that's for home use, man. Like, you go.
Home used
And you
mobile
know
phone.
what the idea
Mine,
was,
mine,
like?
mine was that I was in Nigeria. I was robbed twice. I keep saying this, like, and the funny thing is that it happened consecutively. Like,
Yeah,
this year I was robbed. The next year I was robbed. And
yeah,
I was like, okay, these people I've become customer. I've
yeah,
become a client for
yeah.
robbers.
And that's the thing as well. Like, when you would say, like, when you would even tell your friends, like, yeah, I had the new phone, and I was just checking the phone and stuff, and someone came and robbed me, and they were like, "What are you? Are you an idiot? You
Yeah,
you
why
take
did you
your
why did
new
you go
phone
out with your
outside?"
phone? Don't you know you're not supposed to go? Yeah, that's what they're going to say.
It's
Like,
like,
don't you know you're not supposed to go out with your phone?
yeah, it's like, but that's what the phones are like. They are mobile, But no, you're supposed to take your old Nokia phones outside. But you know what happens, right? So what
Yeah.
started happening as well? If you had an old Nokia phone, those old brick phones, and
Mm.
came to rob you, and you only had that, some of the people got shot because
Because
they
they
had
believe
their
that they are
phone.
hiding the other phone.
No, because they didn't have good phones and they didn't have money on them, so they shot them. I was like, so damned if you do and damned if you don't. So, you know,
I'm very sure that these are levels of insecurity that some people are not familiar with. We are speaking about a different world right now. For so
yeah.
many of our listeners, it's like
I
this.
don't think so. People understand that because, every day when I was going out in Karachi, like, you still go out because, I was at that age where I was like, whatever, I'm
Mm.
still gonna do what I want to do, but you weren't guaranteed that you would come back alive. There was absolutely no guarantee. And if you're living in that mentality, then you either sink or swim sort of a thing, right? So you
Mm.
build a
Mm.
mentality where when people say, "Oh, you are brave for saying things," it's like, no, no, no.
No, it's like
This is
I
a
was supposed to say
reflex.
it. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's just a reflex for me now.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
even thinking about it because that's how I've been built now by living in such an
In
environment.
a very harsh environment. Like Nigeria is a weird. Although I still go out with my although phone snatching happen a lot in this part, but I still go out with my phone because I feel they're not going. My brother said they gave me the what we call the formula. Okay, gave me the updates on how to comport yourself so that they would think that you are somebody that your phone cannot be snatched. And
Yeah,
I've been doing
yeah,
that, and I've been coming back with my phone.
yeah. I mean that's what I learned as well. Like, because I
Yeah,
got
there's how you comport yourself, and they'll be like, let's snatch that guy's phone.
how you
And there's
present
how you comport
yourself
yourself.
and stuff, like where people don't touch you. Then people think like, oh, you're someone, like you're
Yeah,
someone.
yeah. And they think I remember a friend of mine, he was like, he usually like come back home from there when I had a roommate. He usually come back very late. He'll come back by 11, he'll come back by 12. And I'm like, I used to ask him, I don't you get scared that something will happen to you when you're coming back this late? And then he said, there is somebody that is walking out late in the night looking for whom to harass, right? The
Yeah.
person knows what he's about to do. Does the person also know what I'm about to do? He says when they try me, they will know what is going to go down. They will know how it is going to. They will know how it to play out when
And
when they try me.
the thing I found as well was like if you're acting that openly and stuff as well, like where you're not taking precaution, well, you are in your head taking precaution, but you're not presenting yourself as taking precautions. Those
People
people think
worry. Yeah,
people think like, okay, he must have something or he
something.
must be someone.
Yes,
That's why he's
yes.
so secure, right? So
Yeah,
they don't touch.
that is the guys. That is the trick. When you look like you are not bothered, people will be like, this guy that is brave, walking like this, he's
Yeah,
up to. Let's not try this one."
yeah.
But when you are that guy that is in the middle of the night, you're walking fast. You're walking like, "Oh my god, I need to run."
I remember I was. I know we have strand away from the Christian topic, but we'll come back to it. Um,
Yeah.
I remember we were walking. I was in college, like I think so 16 or something like that,
Mhm.
and we used to skip college with the classes a lot, and I used to go and play snooker instead with my friends instead of going
As
to
a
the
good
classes.
student that you were.
Yeah, and one of the days we were coming back from playing snooker, and like our parents thought we were at college because we used to go to the whole day, or when you're
Mm.
supposed to be in college, we were playing snooker all day basically. And they
You
would
went to
think like
Snooker
we coming back from
University.
the classes. Yeah, it was just like one of those days. So we were
Mhm.
coming back, and I had my phone. I just recently bought this new phone that came out. It was like a Nokia gaming phone, and
Mhm.
it had controls and stuff. It was really good. I was really happy about it.
You were proud of it.
Yeah, and I had that in my pocket. It was pretty bulky, right? So it was very brave of me to have that, anyways. And then I had my cigarettes and stuff as well. I had like really nice Dunhill cigarettes and stuff,
Mm.
So my pockets were very bulky. And this guy on the bike was coming from behind, but there's
Mm.
so many bikes you just don't even notice, right? And my friend who was with me, he's like a lot taller, and at that time he was a lot fatter, way fatter.
Mm.
And he just said, like, just said my name. He said run, and I saw him running, and I was just so shocked because I've never seen him move that fast, right? He like jumped over the fence, and he was like ran. I was like, what the? I thought he was just pranking me, And then that bike came and he stopped me. I was like, oh, Jesus. He even took my cigarettes, that guy. I was like, why are you taking my fucking
That's what we
cigarettes,
call
man?
in Nigeria. We call it a hungry robber. When a
Yeah,
robber comes to and rob you and take even the least
yeah,
possession and take your toothpaste and they take
yeah.
your shoes. You're
But,
like, come, this is a hungry.
the
They
my
take your
mentality,
brief rage.
exactly. My mentality sort of was like when he got out of the bike, and he said, like, give me your phone. I was like, why? And then he showed me his gun. I was like, okay, yeah, fine.
Oh, yeah, oh my God. I see the reason. In Nigeria, we
That's a
say,
very good reason.
yeah, give me a very good Nigeria. We say the owner of the phone has come to collect it. give
Yeah,
him, give him his phone. It's no
yeah,
longer your phone. Give
yeah,
him his phone.
yeah. It's and those was the time where like there was no concept of IME numbers and stuff like that. I think so. Or
Mm,
even if there was, like, in Pakistan, there's a way to bypass it. So you can actually. That's what was happening over here when I came in England in 2010, where I saw like a lot of people were buying the phones on contract, taking the phones on contract, and then
mm,
claiming they have like stolen phones or like whatever, lost their phones or whatever, and they were selling those phones in Pakistan, where they would
mm,
bypass the IME numbers shit or something like that. But yeah, I mean, the corruption becomes so natural that you just start
mm.
living in that zone. And I think so that a lot of it has become within Nigeria, although the rest of the world should not be viewing it as that Christians dying as just becoming natural process over there. 50,000 Christians dying over 10-15 years is a major thing. But in Nigeria, it just seems like, okay, but that's why you're living in those Muslim areas, why you
Yeah,
live along those borders, and that mentality creeps in then.
yeah. Here's the thing I'll say. As much as it is a prevalent view to just dismiss tragedies, I remember there was a time when Boko Haram was in full swing. I had this friend of mine, like every like then you hear a train was attacked. Boko Haram will attack trains, they will attack churches. Man, this Boko Haram did things and they are still doing. But then when it was fresh, as in we saw atrocities, right?
Mm,
It would just blow your mind. So I had this friend of mine and I was talking to her one time, I think this is a few years back. So I was telling her about a recent one that just occurred. And then she said to me, she said, I am tired of crying.
mm,
You're like, I'm tired of crying about this thing. That right now, if I see a new one, I don't have emotions again. Like, I don't feel anything. I look at it and I'm like, okay. You get what I'm saying? Like she said, and she lives in an area where like one of the train attacks happened in the city where she was living in. So she's like, I've seen this so many times that I'm like, I don't even have any emotion again to express. That I'm just numb. And that she feels, and I feel she's not the only one who feels that way, especially in
yeah.
Nigeria. People in Nigeria have really grown numb because I mean, you've seen attacks, you've seen
Mm,
girls kidnapped, you've
yeah.
seen, and this Islamists that are very like they're not normal. There's this one that happened in a
They,
church in the
they
West.
don't see other people as humans. They are
Yeah,
really, yeah,
really, and they do it in such a way that it just blows your mind, like just
yeah,
does something to you mentally and emotionally and
yeah,
psychologically. Where they went to a church, they didn't even go with guns, right? They went with machetes and they were slaughtering and maiming people. The graphic coming out of the church was so horrible and horrific, and you're like, human beings did this.
yeah.
And another thing is that they want you to see it. They're always proud of their work. It's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's like I'm
Always,
proud of what
always
I did, and I
always
want the whole world to
yeah,
see it.
because
You
they
know.
think they're doing something good. They think like, look at me, I'm so brave. I'm a warrior. Like,
Mm,
I'm going and killing. But this is what the Vikings did as well. This is a way. This is not an uncommon mentality. People think
mm,
this mentality is only a mentality of Islam. It's not.
mm.
It's the mentality of all plundering and looting and this
And raiding culture, yeah.
these barbarian cultures, which think that they are doing the right thing by their gods. They're
Mm,
honoring their gods by being by because they are the chosen one by their gods. So they have the ability to conquer you in this way.
mm,
So you are not relevant anymore. Like, or unless you become part of them, and even then, they'll find a way to dehumanize you anyways. But still, unless you become a part of them, you're irrelevant to God. Like, your souls are not going to heaven anyway, so what does it matter?
mm,
So I'm
mm,
just doing the good deed in that sort of way. And this is very common. It used to be common within the Viking mentality, when they used to come in and pillage and plunder and stuff. Over time, they were more and more open to Christian ideas and stuff, and it
mm,
changed them. And it changed them, and they wanted to settle. Then they didn't wanted to do those things anymore. Over
mm,
time, it changed them. This is the same mentality with Islam. And no matter which, it's not because they are Nigerians, it's not because they're Africans. It is pretty consistent with, like, whether they're from Pakistan, whether they're from Syria, whether they're Palestinians, whether they're Nigerians, Kenyans, whatever, Sudanese, whatever they are. When this mentality takes hold, they will exhibit what Muhammad did, because Muhammad did these things.
mhm,
So they're just following the best examples. And people at so there are only two ways of handling this, or three ways of handling this, as far as I know,
mm,
or I can see. One of the way is isolation. Isolate them out of your worlds. So that would mean, in Nigeria, that would mean Nigerians having to give lands away and just building a wall and pushing them on one side, right? And the
mhm,
rest of the Nigeria living a peaceful life, and just
mm,
expelling, sorry, all the Muslims out of the lands. And that
mm,
would mean the same for anywhere in the world, right? In
mm,
the West as well, all the Western countries, just throwing all the Muslims out, banning whatever, the mosque and stuff like that, and just like, okay, we don't want you over here. You do whatever atrocities you want in your own lands. You're banned from our lands. We want to live
mm,
away from you. The second way is trying to make it moderate, accepting moderation and stuff like that within it,
mm,
which is impossible to happen. It's sort of like just delaying the process of what it will happen. Like, they will still do this at some point, or
mm,
becoming Muslims, the West becoming Muslims itself, right? Everyone
mm,
becoming Muslims. That's that route, right? And hoping that maybe if we all become, if the West all of West becomes Muslims, then it can probably moderate it, make it moderate. Never gonna happen. The third route is turning Muslims, opening Muslims more up to the ideas of Christianity, introducing the normal masses of Muslims, not the Islamist leaders and not the scholars and stuff like that. That comes later, but actual normal Muslims who actually don't know that much about Islam, or
mm,
opening them up to the actual atrocities within the Islamic teachings, and then
mm,
opening them up to the love of Christ, right? Having them choose Christianity over Islam, and seeing
mm,
how, if they choose Christianity and live in a Christian way, how much more fulfilling their lives can be, how much more their lives can be filled with love. And
mm,
they don't have to keep on hating everyone. They can accept other people for who they are and work on themselves more and stuff like that. That is the other option. That is the option that King Alfred took as well, during the early time of England, which
mm,
I believe, like, because rather than just killing everyone, he punished the heathens where they had to be punished. He fought against the heathens where they had to be fought. His later generations did the same till they freed themselves of all the heathens. But
mm,
at the same time, he was more willing to open them up to the idea of them converting to Christianity, and then he would take them in his fold, right?
mm,
But the West can't do that unless the leadership of West is Christian, and because it is not, including the king as well now of Britain, which he says he's Christian, but he's following the woke Christianity of Church of England. Unless there's proper Christians over here, that idea will never be established, because if you don't believe in your own religion, then you
yeah,
can't spread it. But
yeah,
this,
true.
I see that this third option is the best, most peaceful option. There will be a lot of suffering in the way, but this is something that will give salvation to the Muslims. This is something that will save their souls as well, because
Yeah.
otherwise we just condemning them, and condemning a lot of people who are good people within the Muslim fold, the good Muslim people who don't follow the Islam to the letter, because they just follow it because it's a cultural baggage for them, right?
Mm, mm,
But they are good people and they go against the teachings a lot because they want to be good human beings. This
mm,
gives them a way of redemption. This gives them a way of them not having to make excuses for the
mm,
bad codings in their faith, and them
mhm,
just living a good life,
mm,
and their future generations living a good life. Just
mm.
imagine if the whole of the Arab world became predominantly Christian right now. It
Yeah,
will change
and
everyone's life.
these in a let's say if the West we are, for example, we are truly like liberal and not just wanting to spread human rights, which is one thing that which is one of the reasons why I feel like in the Muslim world human rights violation will continue,
Hmm.
because people, the goal of many of these organizations is to spread human rights, not spread the condition for human rights.
Yeah.
I don't know if you understand. So you want to spread human rights, but you don't want to spread the condition for human rights. So, for example, you want the right of women. Oh, we are here to protect the right of women, and but you are not for freedom of religion in the area where you want to protect the right of women. So the religion that is hampering the rights of women, you cannot criticize. In fact, as much as possible, you try to distance the human rights violation from the religious practice and doctrine that is promulgating it. For example, when you see organizations trying to get rid of female genital mutilation, and you
Hmm.
have US aid writing an entire like 9-page article explaining how FGM is not an Islamic practice, and the whole thing is just laughable. Imagine a US a US agency doing that. The entire document is just laughable. Like you read it and you just start laughing. I'm like, this is low level dawah.
Yeah.
This is low level dawah. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is
One second, Frank. 1 second. Can you continue this, and I'll be back in a second. I just have to pick up something from the side.
all right, go ahead.
Yeah, but keep
So
talking.
yeah, that's what I always do. I keep talking. Anyway, so in a society that tries to really establish true liberalism, like true liberal ideas, true doctrine of liberalism, and try to like spread that liberal way of life to the rest of the world, or at least try to do it, you pressure certain governments to take steps that promote liberalism. For example, you want to encourage you want to protect the rights of whatever group you want to protect in a place like Egypt, for example. Then I think the basic right that you should try to defend is people's right to religion, freedom of religion, freedom to practice your religion, freedom to propagate your religion. I feel if you don't start from there, freedom of expression. I feel if you don't start from these ones, you'll not be able to achieve every other one. And that is why we are seeing slow progress, or like progress at a very snail pace in the Muslim world. you know. But another thing that I am proud of Nigerian Christians for, although this is not a statement for all Nigerian Christians or most Nigerian Christians, but I think it's something that you can say about Christianity in Nigeria is that we still have missionaries, we still have devout Christians who are willing to go into the north and preach the gospel. We still have groups, organizations, evangelical ministries that go to the north, go to these places, these dangerous places. We have people who are really committed to their love for God and their love for the gospel, and they are willing to go to these dangerous places to spread the gospel. I have seen in recent days testimonies from these people, and I'm really like, their testimony is something that I see as encouraging. I'm like, when I read those testimonies, I'm like, this is what Christianity is about, right? It's about going to these dangerous places, knowing that you are risking your life. Some of them have to disguise themselves as Muslims, go to these places to spread the gospel. And the good thing is that, like like Paul said, I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God unto salvation. You see that power of God being made manifest, and people are coming, like in the Muslim world, especially in northern Nigeria, are coming to the faith, are repenting. Yes, we still have Boko Haram and the rest operating in the north, killing people, but it has not weakened the effort to evangelize the north. And I'm happy to see that Boko Haram has not affected the evangelical ministries in the north. So if nothing, it has also made, this is one of the things about life, right? You can look at a news story and see the negative aspect, or you can look at it and see the positive, right? With groups like Boko Haram coming on the scene and becoming prominent and doing whatever they are doing, even Muslims themselves in the north are getting like tired, frustrated.
Yeah.
It raises a question for them, these moderates. It raises a question for them about, okay, what is actually going on? Are these people really, what are they are doing? Are they really, is it really in line with the Quran?
Yeah.
If they themselves begin to feel, am I really, I spoke with a relative of mine, and he stays in a Muslim, predominantly Muslim state in Nigeria. And he told me that many of the Muslims he do business with have told him personally that their religion is just a facade. It's just because
Yeah.
that's how they present themselves in the public, because they don't want to be executed. And with so many of the things that are happening in the country, and also terrorism and stuff, it has made them really lose faith. Like, these people are essentially closeted atheists. They don't believe in this stuff anymore. They just put on the appearance. So imagine the beauty of Christians from the south going to the north and then getting to evangelize these people. I feel, despite the terrorist activities, or even because of the terrorist activities, you have people now more than ever who are ready to embrace Christ. And I
Yeah.
see it as an opportunity.
And it takes people don't understand, it does take bravery, because this is it's still 1400 years of Islamic history, right? So it's still a
Mm.
huge cultural and historical baggage that people carry, and they have their ancestors linked to this ideology and linked to the
Mm.
history of it, as if like they're off that team, no matter which area they're from. It takes a lot and especially when that ideology has a mechanism, a fail-safe mechanism within it that will
Mm.
kill you if you go against it. But
Mm.
it takes a lot of bravery to detach yourself from it, even if the element of the threat of death was not there. Even then, it's very hard to detach yourself, to say everything that has come before you, to say, no, that was wrong, what has happened.
Mm.
I need to choose a different path. I need to choose the path that was even before this, right?
Mm.
So the path of Christianity and stuff, or even like believing in some other religion, which is more in tune to their ancestors, right? It just
Yeah.
takes a lot, it takes a lot of bravery for people to leave, and it takes even more bravery for evangelists to go and actually, the missionaries and evangelists, to actually go and teach the word of gospel where there is imminent danger,
Danger, yeah.
threat of
But,
life.
but one thing I want people to understand about terrorism and terrorist attacks is, yes, it's demoralizing, and yes, it is. It has the effect that it has, but it creates an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
That is one thing that I want people to take from whenever they see these things happen, especially when you see Muslims he beat their chest and do all this
Mm,
nonsense. Especially even on social media when you see it, it is an opportunity.
mm,
Okay, I refuse to always see everything as, oh, woe is me, the world is coming to an end mentality. There's something my dad used to tell us then. He said during the time of Sani Abacha, there's this deadly, dangerous president we had, is Sani Abacha. He was like our Idi Amin. The man was brutal.
mm,
Okay, he had a friend during the time of Sani Abacha that had the best economic like experience in his life. He made more money than ever. It was like while people were fleeing the country, he was like, nah, this is my era. It is my time to shine, because he saw an opportunity where people saw a conflict, right? Uh, the point I'm trying to make is, even when you see these things, this is an opportunity. When you see Muslims become brave, when you see them become brazen, when you see them no longer pretend, it is an opportunity. And it's an opportunity that you should seize. It is now time for you to say, you see, we were right. Look at them. Look
yeah,
at this. Look, this is. How do you argue against this? Look at it.
yeah.
You understand? It is easier now more than ever to criticize Islam. It is easier. I even feel like it's one of the easiest things to. It is more easy to criticize Islam than it is to criticize communism, because people, their idea of the atrocities of communism is like something in the past, so people have easily forgotten,
Generation
right?
removed. It's a generation removed. That's why.
Yes,
But Islam is
yes.
happening right now, and
But
you can
Islam,
convince
exactly,
people now.
exactly. Islam is happening right before your eyes. Every day you open the news, you see it. You're like, this is Islam. And this is a perfect opportunity to say, look, this is why this is dangerous. And this
Yeah,
is why this is false. And this is why you should not believe it. This is
yeah.
why
This is
you
actually
should
turning.
denounce the religion,
This is turning a lot of centrist people as well to realize, like, why the problem of Islam. They're actually now waking up to it, and they're saying it. Yeah, I feel a bit like, where the hell were you all this time? But at the same time, I'm giving them that opportunity. But at least you're waking up, so you can say those generic things against Islam to me, and
Mm.
what do you know about this or that? Like, I get people sometimes doing is like, yeah, I've known it all my life. Like, you're the one who's waking up late, but I'm still happy that they're at least waking up.
Yeah.
That what I had.
Even the more the lies, which is one thing that is funny about the world, is that now that Muslims have even become brazen and they are now like audacious, you
Mm,
still find people who look at something and say, oh, that does not represent Islam. Oh, see, this is not true about Islam. Even them and their behavior, for me, is an opportunity. I'm like, okay, let's have the conversation.
yeah,
If you're going to make the claim, let's have that conversation. You think this does not represent Islam. Why do you think that?
yeah.
Even when people spread lies, I see it as an opportunity for a conversation.
Yeah, that's a very important point, because they will have to defend it now, right? So to defend it, they'll have to do some research. If
Mm-hmm.
if they are brave enough to have to defend it, and they'll have to do research. The
Mm.
more that you push them to research more and more into Islam, they'll be like, okay, at some point they'll go like, okay, what the hell am I, support?
Yes.
That's the same, like,
Yes.
a lot of people are waking up from the woke ideology, sort of like, okay, I can't defend this anymore because you are, chopping the dicks off kids, like, so I can't support you anymore. So
Yeah.
there is an opportunity, that is a good positive spin on that. It's
mm.
unfortunate that a lot of people have to die, and always people have to die before people actually open their eyes. But at least the whole world has not doesn't have to die before we open our eyes, right? And that's
Yeah, and even as people are dying, then another thing I also say to people is don't let their death be in vain.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Don't let their death. If you allow it to, if you allow yourself to be demoralized by this, then these people have died in vain. Okay, let these people who are fallen, let these Christians who are dying motivate you. You know. Also, and this one I want to say to Nigerians. I don't know how many of them watch Momo's live stream, but if they ever come across it, Nigerians, especially the ones in the south, stop being cowards.
hmm,
Stop being cowardly. It's one thing that I see a lot in the south. I'm like, stop being cowards. When I started criticizing Islam, you need to see how many messages I got from friends who have even forgotten that I was existing. When they
hmm,
saw that I was talking about, when they saw I was talking about Islam, I was getting messages, I was getting phone calls. They were like, Frank, what are you doing? What do you think? What you're putting your life at? I'm like, calm down.
yeah,
Calm down. It's even if the threat is real, okay? Are you not going to die eventually?
yeah,
You
exactly.
think you're
Stop
going to
being
live here
coward.
forever?
But that's the
You know.
selfish mentality. That's the also the materialistic mentality. The thinking like this is the only life they have
Mm-hmm.
over here, so they need to protect it. They become more, they have a lot to lose because they don't have a concept of afterlife and stuff.
Mm.
These are the compounding issues of a society, which has lost its way. And always a society that has lost its way will give way to a stronger ideology. And this is,
Mm.
a lot of people have said that within the West, if we don't have a resurgence of Christianity, because atheism cannot fill this void, even though like there are people who are celebrating the fact that more than 50% of England is atheist now, or does not associate itself with any religion. They're
Mm.
still celebrating this fact. It's like the atheism is not a strong enough ideology to counter what is coming, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you make your society a hollow existence, a void that is ready to be filled, it will be filled by a stronger ideology that believes in itself fully, and it
Mm.
will be Islam. And this
Mm.
is a lot of some people that I've talked with, even someone like Gavin Ashenden. He believes like if something is not done, England is going to become an Islamic state eventually.
Mm.
Because Islam, for all its fault, is very convinced in its ideology, and it's very assured in its, and it like and there's a reward in that assurance, in that
Mm.
conviction and stuff. There's
Mm.
community in that, even bad community, but a stronger community feels you like you are part of a family, and then
Mm-hmm.
you can do those things. It helps the people around it. It supports the people around,
Mm.
its own
Mm.
Muslim brothers and sisters and stuff.
Mm.
So there is a real danger of us losing everything in the West.
Mm.
If people do not reclaim what was there from the past. And I think
Mm.
this is why it's very important, the focus on Christianity. Some people say, oh, we need to move on from it. Or we're like, all gods are the same, all religions are the same. Not all religions are not the
That
same.
is, that's one thing I say. Yeah, it's just one of those diplomatic platitude that means nothing,
Yeah.
and like I
And
believe in world peace.
yeah,
What
and
do you? Who doesn't
no
believe
no
in?
person no person in this world is going to fight for logic and reason, right? It's not going to give up their life for logic and reason. Actually,
Mhm.
logic and reason will lead them not to give up their life. Even for their family they won't do it, because they'll be like, okay, why the hell? I can just get someone else and make more children, like, that's the logic and reason of it, right? It's the illogical sense of us, it's the emotional part of us, it is the more spiritual part of us that is connected to something more than
Mm.
ourselves, that we can't explain as of yet. We
Mhm.
just can't explain what it is. Now we're saying a placeholder for many people right now, for those who don't believe, should be that it's God, right?
Mm.
For people who actually believe in a particular God, it is God, that unexplained other, that beyond ourselves sort of a thing.
Mm.
People would die and protect each other for that, for
Mm.
something that is beyond, because you're giving up your life for reward that you cannot see in person, that
Mm,
you have never seen in person, but there's a
mm.
belief in there. You will not die for logic and reason unless it's like, no, even then you won't die. You will find ways of
It is
not
never
dying.
logical. It is never logical to die for anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a logical thing. It's like, no,
Yeah,
you
what?
need to preserve life.
Yeah. You have to strongly believe in something to an extent that might even look delusional for you to say, you know what, I'll lay down my life for this thing.
Yeah,
And also you believe in something so strongly. You if somebody will say you need to have faith, and
mm,
faith is not logical.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it might be individuals who would do that, right? Like,
Mm,
it might be someone like Socrates who knowingly, when he could have had escaped death, but he did not. He took his punishment that was
mm,
wrongfully being given to him. It might be individuals like that who could do it.
mm,
Who would say like, no, if I die now, if I escape now, then everything that I've thought about in my philosophy and everything that I've stood for will
mm,
become meaningless. Or everything will become meaningless, and in doing so, the whole Western civilization would have ended. It would have ended a long time ago if Socrates would not have chosen
mm,
to actually let them kill him, by poison.
mm,
His punishment not taken it. It's individuals who can do it, right?
mm,
Who might, even by logic and reasoning, can come up to that point like, no, dying is actually better right now, even if I'm ending my life short. But it's very few individuals that can reach that zenith of their intelligence and stuff where they can make these decisions.
mm.
The masses cannot. The masses need something else. They need an ideology that thinks beyond a person, a spiritual experience and stuff, which inherently everyone can feel and understand without
Mm,
anyone having to explain. you know
mm,
that, like, these situations do not come with a questionnaire. These
mm,
come with a, like, few seconds decision that you have to make.
mhm.
you know but I hope, like, we leading back towards those ideas, because otherwise I don't have much hope for Western society. If it's not that I do not think, like, a lot of people have been saying like, oh, we'll be fine, and they're going towards the logic and reason thing. Oh, like, we'll get rid of all these Abrahamic religions and we'll be free of it.
One thing that I know for sure, is that uh, Christianity historically have been through a lot,
Hmm.
and it is one religion that still hasn't gone extinct, and I don't think it will, because it is being sustained by the grace of God,
Hmm.
by the power of the Holy Spirit. So that's one thing I believe strongly about Christianity.
Hmm.
Despite persecutions, Christians have been persecuted in the past.
Hmm.
Even the church itself had found itself engaged in very, crazy practices that is even
Hmm.
far removed from what it is called to do. We've had so many things. I think it was C.S. Lewis who said that uh, Christianity has died 1,000 times and has resurrected
Yeah.
because he believes in a God that resurrects from the dead, right?
It has a staying power, and it is because of that death and resurrection of the idea that every
Mm,
day that you die and you sort of get resurrected, because you can make mistakes and you can correct yourself. And it's
yeah.
a part of a journey. That is its staying power.
Yeah, so I believe that strongly about Christianity. I don't think the church is going anywhere. We are here. No
Mm,
amount of atheism is going to eradicate
mm,
like people Christianity. No amount of Islamism, even despite Islam being in Egypt for 1400 years, you still have the Coptics.
yeah.
They are not going anywhere. You still have Christians in Pakistan,
Mm,
despite how they are treated.
yeah.
They're not going anywhere. You
Yeah.
still have Christians in Saudi Arabia. They're not going anywhere. You still
Yeah.
have Christians in northern Nigeria. Boko Haram
I don't. I don't believe like Christianity will be gone. I just
yeah.
believe the controlling element or
Mm.
the governmental element will go towards Islam,
Yeah,
right?
I get that, but you also have to recognize something that this is how the this is how the religion started. This is how the religion grew. right? In the time of the apostles, it was the Jewish authorities that were opposed to Christianity.
Mm.
Later, it was the Romans.
Yeah.
Now in many places it
Islam.
is radical Islam,
Yeah.
or Islam in general.
Yeah.
Even now in the West, it's like communist administration with
Mm.
their anti-Christian bias and view and policy, if you will, if you call it that. So we have Christianity have always had that, and I see it as, if Christians, like God said, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and seek my face, then I will do so and so for them. If Christians in these times get like closer to God and get their faith increased, it doesn't wax cold, it increases. It always results in a boom. Like these
Mm.
moments always create like a catalyst for something that is going to be massive,
Yeah.
right? I believe that strongly. Like, it's going to create that environment for something that is massive, for something that will be so explosive
Mm.
that you get some form of revival, and the revival is going to spread in a radical way that nothing can quench. And that is what I believe strongly about Christians, and as a Christian, that's what I strongly believe. And that's what I pray about, and that's what I walk towards, and that's what I try
Yeah.
to, when I speak with other Christians, that's the mindset I try to encourage people to, in times like this, seek God more, grow
Mm.
closer to God. You understand? In moments like this, and see Him make Himself show His strength, prove Himself mighty. Like Paul said, "When I am weak, then I am strong."
Mm.
I glorify I glory in my weakness, because in my state of weakness is where God shows Himself to be strong.
Mm.
So I strongly believe that as a Christian. I really, really strongly believe that. When I see so many of these things happen, and I'm like, God is going to do something great. God
Mm.
is about to do something great. I don't have this end of days mentality that so many people
Mm.
have. These are the end times. The world is going to end 2 days from now. Calm down is what I always tell them. Chill, okay? I believe something great is about to happen, not something destructive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
and I
I
want
you
Christians
know
to
I
have
like
that hope.
I like that mentality better. So you actually made me feel better about it. And it's good. It's good to end our conversation on that positive note as well. Uh,
Mm,
that there's an opportunity with every. We are always meant to suffer, but there's an opportunity in there as long as we know what we're suffering for as well. That makes suffering easier, but also
mm,
if there's a hope that we're going to get something better out of it, and if that is what we can get out of it, a return to a good sort of society
yeah.
where we value more than just ourselves and our
Mm,
materials and stuff, then I think so
mm,
that suffering is worth it. And that also means that it's incumbent upon all of us to actually to suffer and to go through this struggle, and to be vocal within this struggle, to realize this society for our future generations. um yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
I hope like and I hope like in Nigeria, like this Christian element wins against the Islamists, and what
It
Boko
will.
Haram is doing, it will be the end of Islam in Nigeria.
Amen. Amen. Amen to that. And what another thing I need, if you're not somebody who is of Christian, if you're not of the Christian persuasion, I want you to understand that the world is filled with the history of the world is filled with wars. I know you've had relative peace wherever you are living for like 100 years now.
Hmm.
Especially if you live in America, or if you live in Europe, you've not been. The last war was World War II, right? And you're like, oh, we've had relative peace. But I want you to understand that the history of the world is history of wars and conflict and people dying. Okay, this is life. Okay, this is life. And this is worth living.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Okay. Thank you everyone for listening. I am getting hungry now, so I'm going to go and eat something. And it was really good to have you on, Frank. And
Thank you.
everyone should go and listen to his podcast, A Nigerian Perspective, and the new podcast that is coming up, Frankly Speaking. You should also go and read my Substack, theworldofmomus.com, and go to my YouTube, the World of Momus podcast.
If you don't fund us, we'll go and get that Russia money. So
Yeah, exactly. Either Russia or Israel or Mossad money, like someone, come on.
yeah, Russia is paying well. Russia or Iran. So you better start funding us, or we'll go to Russia or go to Iran. Okay.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm actually trying to seek Chinese money as well.
Yeah, Chinese money is good
Anyway.
too.
Anyways, thank you so much, Frank, and thank you everyone for listening. I'll catch you next time.
Yeah.